The blast hit like a freight train. My windows shook, alarms wailed, and somewhere down the block someone screamed. I ran to the porch just in time to see black smoke curling from Karen Whitmore's perfect white chimney. She was in her driveway, robe half burned, hair fried at the ends, shouting, "That idiot sold me faulty firewood!" Except, I wasn't an idiot. I was the engineer who built that wood. If you've ever had a neighbor who made your blood boil, hit that like button so I know I'm not the only one losing sanity in suburbia. Anyway, rewind to last week. It started with a letter taped to my door. Big bold font, notice of violation. Reason? Firewood visible from the street. That's it. Not a crime, not a hazard just visible. I laughed, crumpled it, and said to myself, classic Karen. But the next morning, half my stack was gone. Maybe a mix-up, I thought. Maybe some kids? Then it happened again and again. That's when the calm broke. If I'd known she'd take it this far, I might have built those logs differently, or maybe not. By sunrise, she'd already emailed another masterpiece of HOA literature. Subject line, Community Standards Reminder. Dear resident, your outdoor storage disrupts visual harmony. Visual harmony? Who writes like that? By noon, there she was. Karen, marching up the street in her fuchsia coat, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, acting like the neighborhood CEO. "Morning, Tom," she called out. "Still haven't moved that wood pile, huh?" I leaned on my rake. "Didn't think we were policing trees now?" She smirked. "Order keeps us safe." "Order?" I said. "Looks more like harassment dressed in hot pink." Her smile never cracked. 10 days, Mr. Hayes." Then she clicked away, heels stabbing the pavement like punctuation marks. Folks around started shutting blinds whenever she passed. She fined the Millers for a loud wind chime. Jenkins got written up for unapproved lawn ornaments. The whole neighborhood tiptoed. If you've ever dealt with someone who lives for control, drop a comment below. I want to hear your HOA horror story, me. I stayed quiet. You don't out-yell a Karen. You outthink her. That night, I counted my firewood again. Lighter, definitely lighter. 10 logs are missing. She thought she was enforcing rules, but she was already breaking the wrong one mine. By the third night, I was done pretending. I carved a tiny T into a few logs my signature test. Next morning, gone, all of them. The dirt by the fence was pressed flat small heel prints leading away. Heels. Who steals firewood in heels? That's when it hit me. The letters. The timing, the ego. It had to be her. I laughed, low and bitter. "All right, Karen," I muttered. "You want to steal from me? Let's make it interesting." The following day, like clockwork, another email. "Your outdoor firewood continues to violate community aesthetics. Please remove immediately or incur further fines." President Karen Whitmore, she'd actually signed it like she was running the White House. If you're still watching, hit subscribe, because the twist coming next will make you rethink every neighborly favor you've ever accepted. That night, I sat at my desk staring at that email, smiling to myself. Anger was gone. What replaced it was focus, precision. Engineers don't argue, we design solutions, so I decided to design one. I opened a notebook and scribbled a title at the top. Operation Firewood Justice. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning an education. Next time she snuck into my yard, she wouldn't just be stealing wood, she'd be lighting the fuse herself. I'm not the kind of guy who guesses twice. I'm an engineer. We deal in proof, not hunches. So that night I set up a pair of motion sensor cameras. One on the shed roof, one tucked under the gutter. Cloud backup, night vision. Silent as a secret. If you're the kind of person who loves seeing karma caught in 4K, hit that like button because this footage was about to be gold. 2 nights passed. Nothing but raccoons and a stray cat. But on the third night at 12:14 a.m., my phone pinged. Motion alert. I opened the app and there she was. Karen Whitmore. That same fuchsia coat, scarf tied tight, flashlight in one hand, heels stabbing the grass like she was walking a runway. She moved straight toward my woodpile, calm as a surgeon. On the mic, I could hear her mumbling to herself. "It's for the community anyway." "He'll thank me later." "Yeah, Karen. Sure, because nothing screams community like breaking into my yard at midnight." She loaded the logs into the back of her SUV, brushed her hands off like she'd done something noble, and strutted off into the dark. The next morning, I brewed my coffee slowly, steadily. Watched the footage again, frame by frame. Every detail is perfect. Her face, clear as day, was caught in that soft porch light. Now, a normal person might have marched straight to the HOA or called the cops. But that's not how you deal with a Karen. You don't feed the drama. You let her cook in it. So I waited. Calm, cold, focused. Because when someone builds their throne out of rules, all it takes is one spark to burn it down. And trust me, that spark was coming. I just hadn't decided how loud it would be. 3 days later, the HOA meeting hit the calendar, same beige clubhouse, same bad coffee, same power-hungry president. But this time, I wasn't going to sit quietly in the back. I got there early, took the front row. My phone was in my pocket, video ready. And guess who strutted in 10 minutes late wearing that fuchsia coat like a battle flag? Yep, Karen. Clipboard in hand, smile sharp enough to slice glass. She tapped the table twice. All right, everyone, let's begin. Tonight's agenda, property violations, safety concerns, and Mr. Hayes's ongoing woodpile issue, the crowd murmured. I didn't flinch. She cleared her throat, savoring every word. Despite multiple warnings, Mr. Hayes continues to store unsafe amounts of wood in plain sight. A fire hazard and an eyesore. I raised my hand. Calm, measured. Karen, just for the record, when was that footage you took of my woodpile? She smirked. Within the last 48 hours, I smiled. Interesting. Because that's when half my firewood was stolen. Silence. Then a few gasps. Karen blinked fast, her voice cracking. Maybe you misplaced it? Misplaced 80 pounds of oak? I said, leaning back. That's cute. A chuckle rippled through the room. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. There she was, full color, stealing my firewood. Her face filled the room's projector. For a second, you could hear nothing but her heartbeat. I swear it echoed. Care to explain? I asked. Karen's mouth opened, but no words came out. Her color drained. If you're still watching this, hit subscribe because this isn't where she stopped. This is where she snapped. She slammed her folder shut and hissed, "You'll regret this!" before storming out. The crowd exploded in whispers. Someone muttered, "Guess she found a new violation herself." I thought that was the end of it. But Karen doesn't quit. She reloads. After that meeting, the neighborhood felt different. People smiled again. They waved at me like I'd just slayed a dragon. But dragons don't die that easily, especially ones wearing fuchsia coats. Karen went quiet for a few days, which only made me nervous. That woman thrived on control, and silence wasn't her style. So I decided to use the quiet time for something productive. If you've ever had to deal with a person who just doesn't get the message, hit that like button, because this next move wasn't petty. It was poetic. I went into my workshop, turned on the old desk lamp, and grabbed a pencil. Engineers don't rant, we design. Across the top of my sketch pad, I wrote 3 words in block letters. The Firewood Project. I wasn't planning to hurt anyone, just educate. I hollowed out a few old logs with my lathe, filled each with a small amount of black powder left over from my 4th of July fireworks stash, not explosives, just enough to pop and make a little smoke. Each one looked identical to the real thing. Perfect decoys. As I worked, I couldn't help narrating in my head like a DIY tutorial from hell. Step 1, identify your Karen. Step 2, wait for theft. Step 3, make science fun again. By midnight, I had 3 hollow masterpieces ready to go. Smooth, balanced, disguised perfectly under a layer of ash and bark. I stacked them right in the center of the pile, surrounded by the real logs. To anyone else, it looked normal. But to Karen, it was a loaded lesson in boundaries. If you're loving this kind of poetic payback, drop a comment below. I want to know how you would have handled it. She thought she'd stolen my piece, but what she really stole was her own explosion waiting to happen. 5 quiet nights. That's all it took for her to crawl out of hiding. I was sitting in the living room, whiskey in hand, lights off, just the glow of the TV humming in the dark when my phone buzzed. Motion detected backyard. If you're still here, hit subscribe because this was the moment everything flipped. I opened the camera feed, and there she was. Karen Whitmore. The fuchsia coat again, buttoned tight like armor, flashlight in one hand, reusable tote in the other. Her SUV idled by the curb, headlights off, trunk open, like she'd done this 100 times. She moved quickly. No hesitation. Knee-deep in my woodpile, stacking log after log, the same calm rhythm of someone who thinks the world bends for her. I could almost hear her humming. I leaned closer to the screen and whispered, "That's it, Karen, keep stealing the lesson." One by one, the hollow logs vanished into her trunk. My little science projects tucked neatly among the oak. She brushed her hands, checked her lipstick in the reflection, and drove off into the night like nothing had happened. I sat back, exhaled slowly, and smiled. Weeks of irritation melted into quiet satisfaction. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was justice poetic, precise, perfectly engineered. If you've ever watched karma load itself into someone's trunk, share this story with a friend who'd appreciate the irony. I turned off the porch light, locked the door, and whispered to myself, "The fuse is set." And by the next night, that fuse was about to light the whole neighborhood. At first, it was just another cold night in Maple Ridge. The air smelled of pine and frost, the kind of silence you only get right before something wild happens. Then boom! The sound ripped through the neighborhood like thunder cracking concrete. I froze, coffee halfway to my lips as the second boom followed, louder. From my porch, I saw a thick column of gray smoke rising over the houses. Then came the shouting. If you're watching this right now, you might want to hit that like button, because this is the part where karma finally clocked in for overtime. I jogged down the street, keeping my expression neutral. Fire trucks blazed past, lights bouncing off every mailbox. And there she was, Karen Whitmore, in that same fuchsia coat. Only now it was singed around the edges, her hair puffed out like a bad science fair. She was waving her arms at a firefighter, screaming, "It just exploded! The whole fireplace blew up!" The firefighter, trying not to laugh, said calmly, "Ma'am, looks like something inside your firewood combusted too fast. Maybe you got a bad batch?" She frowned. "Bad batch? Are you saying this is my fault?" "Oh, I didn't buy it," she added, then stopped cold. I raised an eyebrow from the crowd. "Oh, really?" Her eyes found mine, and that look part guilt, part fury told me everything. If you've ever seen a liar realize the room already knows the truth, drop a comment below. "That expression's priceless," the firefighter shrugged. "Could be homemade material. Maybe fireworks?" Karen went pale. I just smiled and said softly, "Guess you got the festive kind." Smoke still curled from her chimney as neighbors whispered. Some laughed quietly. Others filmed. I turned and walked home slowly, hands in my pockets, letting the moment burn itself out behind me. You'd think that would have humbled her. But with Karen, the story was just warming up. For 2 whole days after the blast, Maple Ridge felt like a sitcom in slow motion. Every neighbor wanted details. Kids rode their bikes past Karen's house, pointing at the scorch marks on her chimney. And me? I just kept splitting wood like nothing happened. But you don't push someone like Karen Whitmore into a corner and expect her to stay there. She came back swinging. If you've ever dealt with that one person who just can't admit they're wrong, hit that like button, because this woman was about to redefine denial. By Tuesday morning, the HOA inbox exploded with her official statement. Recent safety incident traced to hazardous materials stored by Mr. Hayes. Community members urged to remain vigilant. Hazardous materials? That woman could twist a halo into handcuffs. Half the neighbors believed her, the other half just watched the fireworks. That evening, as I was raking leaves, her SUV rolled to a stop at the curb. Window down, sunglasses on, even though the sun was gone. "Hope your insurance is paid up," she said sweetly. "The board's reviewing your membership." I leaned on the rake and smiled. "Tell the board to bring popcorn." She sped off, tires crunching gravel like a warning shot. I could have gone public with the footage again, but instead I let her talk. Every rumor she spread only made her look guiltier. By midweek, folks started piecing the truth together. The footage, the fines, the smoke. If you're still watching, drop a comment. Would you expose her again or let her self-destruct? Because me? I chose patience. Karen was lighting her own fuse now, and all I had to do was wait for the spark. What happened at the next HOA meeting didn't just expose her. It buried her reputation for good. By the time the next HOA meeting rolled around, word had spread like wildfire, pun fully intended. Half the neighborhood showed up early, clutching coffee cups and curiosity. Even old Mr. Jenkins brought his lawn chair just to get a front row seat. I sat near the back this time. Didn't need center stage. I already knew how this show ended. If you've ever seen Karma walk into a room wearing heels, hit that like button because this one was worth it. Karen swept in 10 minutes late. Of course, wearing her signature fuchsia coat. Chin high, eyes sharp. She slammed a folder on the table like a judge about to sentence the world. "Let's begin," she snapped. "We have serious issues to address, namely, unsafe behavior by certain residents endangering our community." Whispers rippled across the crowd. Someone muttered, "Here we go again." She pointed straight at me. "Mr. Hayes has been storing explosive materials. We all saw what happened to my chimney." I stood slowly. "You mean when your stolen firewood caught fire?" Her face twitched. That's not... Those logs were..." I pulled out my phone and tapped play. The room fell silent as the footage rolled again. Karen, midnight, fuchsia coat, stealing wood. Clear as daylight. Gasps, murmurs. One guy actually laughed out loud. Karen stammered, That's taken out of context." "Out of context?" I said. "You're dragging logs out of my yard like it's Black Friday. Even the board members couldn't hold their poker faces. If you're still watching this, drop a comment. Should I have stopped there or let her keep talking?" Because she didn't stop. She tried to twist it again. Blamed the HOA, blamed the bylaws, blamed me for entrapment. And then, right there in front of everyone, she cracked. She slammed her clipboard down and yelled, "You're all against me!" before storming out. But what she didn't know, her downfall was already going viral. By sunrise, the video had already made its rounds. Someone from the meeting had uploaded the footage to the neighborhood Facebook group, and from there, it spread faster than gossip at a church bake sale. Karen Whitmore, president of the HOA, caught on camera stealing wood, lying to the board, and blowing up her own chimney. If you've ever watched Karma do its thing in 1080p, hit that like button, because this was justice in high definition. By noon, my phone was blowing up with messages. "Dude, this is legendary. You're the Firewood guy." Even the local paper called, asking if I wanted to comment. I didn't. I'd said enough. Karen, on the other hand, vanished. No coat, no clipboard, no smug emails about visual harmony. Word was she resigned from the HOA that same night, packed her stuff, and moved in with her sister 2 towns over. The neighborhood? Peaceful again. The Millers put their wind chime back up. Jenkins planted gnomes in his yard like he was celebrating independence. For the first time in months, Maple Ridge felt human again. If you've ever stood your ground against someone who tried to control your peace, drop a comment below. I want to hear your story. A week later, a small box showed up on my porch. No note, no return address. Inside were 3 things: a broken clipboard, a half-burnt HOA badge, and a single pink button from her fuchsia coat. I laughed. Not out of cruelty, but because in some twisted way, the universe had closed its loop. But before I tell you how it all ended, there's one last thing Karen didn't count on: forgiveness. A few days after the storm passed, I sat on my back porch with a mug of coffee and looked at what was left of the woodpile. No smoke, no letters taped to my door. Just quiet, the kind you earn after fighting for it. If you've ever had to rebuild your peace after someone tried to take it, tap that like button, because you know how heavy silence can feel when it finally lands. I kept thinking about Karen. How a clipboard and a rule book had become her armor. Maybe she wasn't evil, just scared of losing control in a world that never really listened to her. I wasn't proud of what I did, but I wasn't sorry either. Sometimes the only way to make a bully see herself clearly is through the reflection of her own chaos. The neighbors still talk about that night. They joke that I engineered karma, but what I really did was remind everyone rules mean nothing without respect. If you're still here watching, drop a comment and tell me what you'd have done differently. Would you have built those hollow logs? Or just walked away? The truth is, revenge feels good for about 5 minutes. After that, it just sits in your chest, heavy and hollow, like the logs I built. Forgiveness, though, that burns slower, hotter, cleaner. So I decided to let it go. No more letters, no more fighting ghosts. Just me, my tools, and a yard finally free of drama. But the story didn't end with forgiveness because sometimes peace itself sends one last surprise. A week later, the air around Maple Ridge felt lighter, like the neighborhood had exhaled after holding its breath for too long. Kids played in the street again. The Millers hosted a barbecue. Even old Jenkins brought over a slice of pie, saying, "Guess we finally got our peace back, huh?" I smiled. "Yeah, we did. If you've been watching this far, thank you seriously. You're the reason I keep telling these stories." I looked at the space where my woodpile used to be empty now, but somehow complete. It wasn't about firewood anymore. It was about boundaries, respect, and knowing when to stand your ground without losing your humanity in the process. Karen taught me something, though not in the way she intended. She taught me that power built on fear always burns out. That peace isn't about silence. It's about knowing who you are when someone tries to shake you. And maybe most of all, she taught me that sometimes the best revenge is a quiet cup of coffee on your own porch with no one left to fight. If that hits home, drop a comment below and tell me what you took away from this story. And hey, if you've ever dealt with your own HOA Karen, share this video. Maybe it'll help someone laugh their way through the chaos. Life's too short to let petty people rent space in your head. So protect your peace, choose your battles, and when someone tries to steal your fire, build something brighter. And before you go, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because there's always another story where karma meets creativity. She stole my firewood, but she gave me back my spark.